Welcome back to part 2 of the 4 art style challenge that I did in my last video, and the link is in the description for that one. So anyways, today I'm going to draw the Marvel comic art style and the Miriam Bonastre or the Hooky and Marionetta art style. I don't know how you say that, but I'll be drawing two of my characters, Lethian, that's a wizard, and Etherin, who's a fairy. Anyways, let's get right into it. Art style we have here is going to be the Marvel or the American comic art style. It's super fun with dynamic, fun poses, so that's what I wanted to do, kind of like a superhero pose for both of them. I already tried to get in some of the black line art. I used one of my old Spider-Man books for reference, which I weirdly only have part 2 of, but you know, it doesn't really matter. This art style clearly has more realistic human proportions and also more realistic women like expressions, and I already started like blocking in the shapes. A lot of like the Marvel / comic art style is really like a lot of black silhouettes, and black is like the main part of the shading in a way. I was kind of struggling with Lethian's head at first, but we got there. I didn't really think of the way I wanted the poses to be laid out, so it kind of looks a little off. But I really like the way Lethian's face eventually looks. I'm not the best at making faces from the front, but I think he looks great. So on to the line art. I had kind of a hard time with the line art at first because I couldn't get the shape of the eyes right and the thickness of the line art brush, but I eventually figured it out, and it started really feeling like I was actually inking a comic here. I really tried to get the silhouettes and the shapes right, because in this style it's super important that that looks really good, because otherwise it doesn't look like the style. And it was really fun to do. Also, it was the liner that took me the longest to do. As you can see, there's also a lot of line weight, which is just also part of the style. An art style with this amount of contrast, it's kind of like hard to make it look flowy, despite it not really being built for that. So Etherin is a really flowy character. I felt like this art style didn't do her justice, so I tried a little bit with the wings to make it appear flowy, but I feel like I kind of lacked in that part. So now onto Lethian's face, which I was struggling with the most of all, but it was also the most fun to do. The biggest part of the problem was that I didn't exactly know what expression I wanted him to have, so he looks really, like he is having a hard time, and he's clenching his teeth, and he's like, I don't know, it still looks pretty good, like he's genuinely like upset about something or something, but it's super dramatic. Kind of loving it though, kinda. Also, once again, a reminder that it's really important to sometimes flip your canvas. And if you're doing anything traditionally, just look at your art in the mirror. Is it looking weird? What can you fix? Because dang, I figured that I needed to fix a lot of things when I flipped the canvas around. Ah yes, the biggest struggle of any artist. The hands. Well, it looks a little wobbly, but at the same time I feel like it does the job. So I was just like, it does the job well enough, I'm gonna leave it. And now up until the coloring stage. Usually with any kind of art I do, I use the bucket tool because I'm lazy. Although here, with the amount of detail in the line art, it was better to do things manually. So here you can see me coloring manually. I must say the black line art really helped to already convey a lot of depth in the way the colors looked, so it already kind of looks done with just simple flat colors. And I wasn't even done at this point, I still needed the shade. So then we moved on to the multiply, or like the shading stage. I just used a simple blue multiply layer and the lasso tool to kind of make soft and hard shapes at the same time. So there was, I used an airbrush and a hard line brush. When I was done doing the first basic layer of shading, I locked the transparency of the layer and went over it with a little bit of a warmer color around the skin and some of the softer edges. Then I made a new multiply layer and just went over it with a little bit of an indigo blue to just give some areas that extra pop. I feel like it worked out pretty good. Last but not least, some nice highlights. They make the whole thing just... Oh, and the effects. Don't forget about the effects. Then we move on to the next art style. Last video said I would do like a manga art style, but somebody in the comments suggested to do the hooky or the Marionetta art style, and I actually thought about that too before I said that I would do a manga art style. So I genuinely think that that was just a sign for me to do this art style instead of the manga one. Anyways, I have always loved this art style. I've started reading Marionetta a little while ago, and everything about it, the colors, the lines, the shapes, it looks absolutely lovely. And I kind of think it looks similar to my art style, like the Dylan art style. That's like the second panel here, but it's still different enough to make a fun drawing about. This one was off to a slow start though, because I had to look up so many references because I just wanted to do it right. I knew I kind of needed to let the noses go, even though I really love drawing different noses, but the main characters usually kind of have like a sketchy little nose here, which is really cute, so I thought that I just needed to do that too. I also noticed that male characters have a much sharper eyes than female characters do, and female characters usually have a little bit more colored and big round eyes. Also, I love the fluffy hair. Also, I decided to give Leftian a little grin because he looks so sad in all the drawings. Out of all of Miriam's drawings, I referenced Julia and Sahed the most for these two because they kind of give me the same vibe, if you know what I mean. Also, I ship these two, so yeah. Maybe I should make some fan art of them in the future. Both of their poses is something I struggled with, especially with Lethian's hand. Moving on to the line art, that was something I struggled with because I couldn't find the right brush that kind of fits the official line art. Also, I should have tried to put a little bit more gaps between the line art, as Miriam tends to do that in her art. Anyways, the line art is so playful and so cute. I just want to squish their little cheeks. It's adorable. And a lot of lines in areas that have obvious shade, like under the hair. There's like definitely lines and stuff, so that's really fun. Some of these shapes I felt like would this artist do the same as that I'm doing right now, because a lot of the decisions I made, I think that Miriam would have done something completely different. So in a way, it's still kind of my version of the hooky and Marionetta art style, and not really a complete replica of it, but I think that's a good thing. Anyways, moving on to the coloring, I think one of my favorite aspects of Marionetta is the colors. It looks so vibrant and beautiful, but also so soft, and I really tried to replicate that, but I think I could have done a little bit of a better job. Anyways, this is my time to say that if you haven't read Marionetta yet, I haven't read Hooky personally, but if you haven't read Marionetta yet, it's such a good webtoon, and it's completely just free to read. It's so incredibly charming. The only bit of shading I really did was blobs in the hair for like a little highlight effect, and in metallic objects and jewelry, like the gold on Lethian's cloak, and the shine in Etherin's dagger. I only colored some of the line art that was like the scars and the part in Etherin's wing. The shading that Miriam does in her art is really similar to the way that I shade, so I had no problem implementing it here. It's a simple multiply layer with purple, and afterwards you just go over it with a little airbrush and put a little gradient in it, especially around the skin area. And to everyone who says don't shade with purple, I think it's a stylistic choice, so please don't bully people that do that. Anyways, that was it. It looks so good. I'm so happy with the last couple of drawings, even though I would have probably done it differently if I do it again. But I think it looks amazing, and the whole page just really comes together with the different art styles, don't you guys think? Okay, anyways, please subscribe, leave a comment and like, and maybe I'll do like a little different kind of art challenge in the future, but this one was really fun with my two OCs, so thank you so much for watching.